Chapter 10. The alley was narrow and deserted. The assassin strode quickly now, his black eyes filling with anticipation. As he approached his destination, Janice's parting words echoed in his mind.
Phase 2 begins shortly. Get some rest.
The assassin smirked. He had been awake all night, but sleep was the last thing on his mind. Sleep was for the weak. He was a warrior like his ancestors before him, and his people never slept once a battle had begun. This battle had most definitely begun, and he had been given the honor of spilling first blood. Now he had 2 hours to celebrate his glory before going back to work. Sleep? There are far better ways to relax. An appetite for hedonistic pleasure was something bred into him by his ancestors. His ascendants had indulged in hashish, but he preferred a different kind of gratification. He took pride in his body, a well-tuned, lethal machine, which, despite his heritage, he refused to pollute with narcotics. He had developed a more nourishing addiction than drugs, a far more healthy and satisfying reward. Feeling a familiar anticipation swelling in him, the assassin moved faster down the alley. He arrived at the nondescript door and rang the bell. A view slit in the door opened, and 2 soft brown eyes studied him appraisingly. Then the door swung open. "Welcome," the well-dressed woman said. She ushered him into an impeccably furnished sitting room where the lights were low. The air was laced with expensive perfume and musk. "Whenever you are ready." She handed him a book of photographs. "Ring me when you have made your choice." Then she disappeared. The assassin smiled. As he sat on the plush divan and positioned the photo album on his lap, he felt a carnal hunger stir. Although his people did not celebrate Christmas, he imagined that this is what it must feel like to be a Christian child, sitting before a stack of Christmas presents, about to discover the miracles inside. He opened the album and examined the photos. A lifetime of sexual fantasies stared back at him. Marisa, an Italian goddess. Fiery, a young Sophia Loren. Sachiko, a Japanese geisha. Lithe, no doubt skilled. Kanara, a stunning black vision. Muscular, exotic. He examined the entire album twice and made his choice. He pressed a button on the table beside him. A minute later, the woman who had greeted him reappeared. He indicated his selection. She smiled. "Follow me." After handling the financial arrangements, the woman made a hushed phone call. She waited for a few minutes and then led him up a winding marble staircase to a luxurious hallway. "It's the gold door on the end," she said. "You have expensive taste." She said, "You have expensive taste." I should, he thought. I am a connoisseur. The assassin padded the length of the hallway like a panther anticipating a long overdue meal. When he reached the doorway, he smiled to himself. It was already ajar, welcoming him in. He pushed, and the door swung noiselessly open. When he saw his selection, he knew he had chosen well. She was exactly as he had requested. Nude, lying on her back, her arms tied to bedposts with thick velvet cords. He crossed the room and ran a dark finger across her ivory abdomen. "I killed last night," he thought. "You are my reward." Chapter 11. Satanic? Kohler wiped his mouth and shifted uncomfortably. "This is the symbol of a satanic cult?" Langdon paced the frozen room to keep warm.
The Illuminati were satanic, but not in the modern sense.
Langdon quickly explained how most people pictured satanic cults as devil-worshipping fiends, and yet Satanists historically were educated men who stood as adversaries to the church. Shaitan. The rumors of satanic black magic animal sacrifices and the pentagram ritual were nothing but lies spread by the church as a smear campaign against their adversaries. Over time, opponents of the church, wanting to emulate the Illuminati, began believing the lies and acting them out. Thus, modern Satanism was born. Kohler grunted abruptly.
This is all ancient history. I want to know how this symbol got here.
Langdon took a deep breath.
The symbol itself was created by an anonymous 16th century Illuminati artist as a tribute to Galileo's love of symmetry, a kind of sacred Illuminati logo. The Brotherhood kept the design secret, allegedly planning to reveal it only when they had amassed enough power to resurface and carry out their final goal.
Kohler looked unsettled.
So this symbol means the Illuminati Brotherhood is resurfacing?
Langdon frowned.
That would be impossible. There is one chapter of Illuminati history that I have not yet explained.
Kohler's voice intensified.
Enlighten me.
Langdon rubbed his palms together, mentally sorting through the hundreds of documents he'd read or written on the Illuminati.
The Illuminati were survivors, he explained. When they fled Rome, they traveled across Europe looking for a safe place to regroup. They were taken in by another secret society, a brotherhood of wealthy Bavarian stone craftsmen called the Freemasons.
Kohler looked startled.
The Masons?
Langdon nodded, not at all surprised that Kohler had heard of the group. The Brotherhood of the Masons currently had over 5 million members worldwide, half of them residing in the United States and over 1 million of them in Europe.
Certainly the Masons are not satanic,
Kohler declared, sounding suddenly skeptical.
Absolutely not. The Masons fell victim to their own benevolence. After harboring the fleeing scientists in the 1700s, the Masons unknowingly became a front for the Illuminati. The Illuminati grew within their ranks, gradually taking over positions of power within the lodges. They quietly re-established their scientific brotherhood deep within the Masons, a kind of secret society within a secret society. Then the Illuminati used the worldwide connection of Masonic lodges to spread their influence.
Langdon drew a cold breath before racing on.
Obliteration of Catholicism was the Illuminati's central covenant. The brotherhood that held the superstitious dogma spewed forth by the church was mankind's greatest enemy. They feared that if religion continued to promote pious myth as absolute fact, scientific progress would halt and mankind would be doomed to an ignorant future of senseless holy wars.
Much like we see today. Langdon frowned. Kohler was right. Holy wars were still making headlines. My God is better than your God. It seemed there was always close correlation between true believers and high body counts.
Go on,
Kohler said. Langdon gathered his thoughts and continued.
The Illuminati grew more powerful in Europe and set their sights on America. A fledgling government, many of whose leaders were Masons, George Washington, Ben Franklin, honest God-fearing men who were unaware of the Illuminati's stronghold on the Masons. The Illuminati took advantage of the infiltration and helped found banks, universities, and industry to finance their ultimate quest.
Langdon paused.
The creation of a unified world state, a kind of secular new world order.
Kohler did not move.
A new world order,
Langdon protested,
based on scientific enlightenment. They called it their Luciferian doctrine. The church claimed Lucifer was a reference to the devil, but the Brotherhood insisted Lucifer was intended on its literal Latin meaning, bringer of light, or illuminator.
Kohler sighed, and his voice grew suddenly solemn.
Mr. Langdon, please sit down.
Langdon sat tentatively on a frost-covered chair. Kohler moved his wheelchair closer.
I am not sure I understand everything you have just told me, but I do understand this. Leonardo Vetro was one of CERN's greatest assets. He was also a friend. I need you to help me locate the Illuminati.
Langdon didn't know how to respond.
Locate the Illuminati?
He's kidding, right?
I'm afraid, sir, that will be utterly impossible.
Kohler's brow creased.
What do you mean, you won't? Mr. Kohler?
Langdon leaned toward his host, uncertain how to make him understand what he was about to say.
I did not finish my story. Despite appearances, It is extremely unlikely that this brand was put here by the Illuminati. There has been no evidence of their existence for over half a century, and most scholars agree the Illuminati have been defunct for many years. The words hit silence. Kohler stared through the fog with a look somewhere between stupefaction and anger. "How the hell can you tell me this group is extinct when their name is seared into this man?" Langdon had been asking himself that question all morning. The appearance of the Illuminati ambigram was astonishing. Symbologists worldwide would be dazzled. And yet, the academic in Langdon understood that the brand's re-emergence proved absolutely nothing about the Illuminati. "Symbols," Langdon said, "in no way confirm the presence of their original creators." "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means that when organized philosophies like the Illuminati go out of existence, their symbols remain, available for adoption by other groups. It's called transference. It's very common in symbology. The Nazis took the swastika from the Hindus, the Christians adopted the cruciform from the Egyptians, "This morning," Kohler challenged, "when I typed the word Illuminati into the computer, it returned thousands of current references. Apparently a lot of people think this group is still active." Conspiracy buffs," Langdon replied. He had always been annoyed by the plethora of conspiracy theories that circulated in modern pop culture. The media craved apocalyptic headlines, and self-proclaimed cult specialists were still cashing in on millennium hype which fabricated stories that the Illuminati were alive and well and organizing their new world order. Recently, the New York Times had reported the eerie Masonic ties of countless famous men. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the Duke of Kent, Peter Sellers, Irving Berlin, Prince Philip, Louis Armstrong, as well as a pantheon of well-known modern-day industrialists and banking magnates. Kohler pointed angrily at Vetra's body. "Considering the evidence, I would say perhaps the conspiracy buffs are correct." "I realize how it happens," Langdon said as diplomatically as he could. "And yet a far more plausible explanation is that some other organization has taken control of the Illuminati brand and is using it for their own purposes." "What purposes? What does this murder prove?" Good question, Langdon thought. He also was having trouble imagining where anyone could have turned up the Illuminati brand after 400 years. "All I can tell you is that even if the Illuminati were still active today, which I am virtually positive they are not, they would never be involved in Leonardo Vetra's death." "No?" "No. The Illuminati may have believed in the abolition of Christianity, but they wielded their power through political and financial means, not through terrorists' acts. Furthermore, the Illuminati had a secret code of morality regarding who they saw as enemies. They held men of science in the highest regard. There is no way they would have murdered a fellow scientist like Leonardo Vetra." Kohler's eyes turned to ice. "Perhaps I failed to mention that Leonardo Vetra was anything but an ordinary scientist." Langdon exhaled patiently. "Mr. Kohler, I'm sure Leonardo Vetra was brilliant in many ways, but the fact remains—" Without warning, Kohler spun in his wheelchair and accelerated out of the living room, leaving a wake of swirling mist as he disappeared down a hallway. "For the love of God," Langdon groaned. He followed. Kohler was waiting for him in a small alcove at the end of the hallway. "This is Leonardo's study," Kohler said, motioning to the sliding door. "Perhaps when you see it, you'll understand things differently." With an awkward grunt, Kohler heaved, and the door slid open. Langdon peered into the study and immediately felt his skin crawl. "Holy Mother of Jesus," he said to himself.